Thank you so much, and this has been a great experience for me when the interactions between the buyers and sellers are happening before the launch of an online platform, which definitely Mr. Maradia has rightly named it as e-commerce platform. So it sets everything in the right perspective, like what the role and responsibility of an e-commerce platform is exactly is replicating that the risk mitigation which happens in a deal, otherwise, in the physical world, it continues to happen the same way. That is the clarification that he has given. And as a banking partner to this event, I am glad that we are moving towards this direction. We are moving in this direction, and that is going to determine the way we deal with trade in future. The international trade will be dealt in this manner in future, and it will create disruption. Definitely, it is going to create disruption. So I will give you a banking perspective on this. As Mr. Maradia and other people pointed out here, that e-KYC or the KYC validated buyers and sellers would be there. And when the bank comes in, when a seller or a buyer is financed by a bank or is supported by a bank, that provides an extra element of credibility, the trustworthiness. It gives a lot of confidence in the system, and that is what, as a banking partner, we shall attempt to do over here. So, we have been dealing with the online trade. We have been funding the sellers on the e-commerce platforms. Yeah, we are funding B2B2C actually at the moment, and a lot of experiences coming on account of this. So the banks would definitely be there to support this and develop this ecosystem of electronic trade. It creates a sort of a transactional convenience. The risk mitigation has to happen in the physical world. Everything cannot be determined in an electronic manner. The confidence, the dialogue, the negotiation, of course, can be done on an e-commerce platform or an e-platform. But whatever confidence, whatever trust, whatever happens in the physical world definitely continues to happen that way, right? So there is a transactional convenience which is being offered by this platform, and the banks will definitely increase the confidence in the dealing parties. And they will continue to assess the borrowers or the counterparties as they are doing right now. Okay, so that is from the bank's side. But when a borrower or an entity dealing on the platform is backed by a bank, definitely you will get that extra element of trust. And of course, there are conventional ways of doing it. Banks definitely issue LCs, and based on the LCs, you derive a lot of comfort in dealing on the cross-border transactions. So here, having said this, we definitely support this concept. I've been told to speak a few things about the MSMEs, because as Maradia pointed out, Mr. Maradia pointed out in his lecture, that they would be introducing the large section of MSMEs as a population. It is a very, very strong population. We have more than 3 crore SMEs in the country, which contribute to almost 45% of the manufacturing output of the country. And this particular thing, it's such a large section of the Indian economy, and the Indian economy is in a bright spot because of these MSMEs, right? We are growing at more than 7.5% today, thanks to the developments in the MSME sector. And this is going to distinguish us from other countries. This is going to, differentiate us from what others are. So if we talk of what is happening in the Eurozone, the demand is slowing. What is happening to China, the demand is slowing there. But here, this country is emerging as a bright spot. In all the emerging economies, it is the fastest, right? Fastest growing. So definitely as international sellers, you would definitely have an interest in this economy. And when things like these are happening, they are bringing an online comfort, they are introducing a transactional convenience, and the banks from the country are participating on such platforms that will give you an enhanced comfort in dealing with this. So on the MSME side, I will give you a banker's perspective to the MSME units present here, that Yeah, these things are happening. So this is the transparency is the name of the game now, right? So what all you should be doing in increasing the transparency, increasing your credibility in dealing with the banks, so that whenever a need for finance rises, banks can very easily take a decision on providing you the finances, and that is what my topic is going to deal with. So, as far as the global scenario is concerned, as I already said, that India is in a bright spot today. Thanks to the things happening over here, infrastructure is a big spend. Things are happening on the infrastructure sector. We have reformed the power sector, and that is going to be a big area in the coming future. With the power sector reforms introduced by the government of India under their Uday scheme, I think a lot of things which were on the verge of getting NPAs have now revived. And that is going to create a demand. The growth in this sector is going to be double digit. So that is as far as the opportunities in the market are concerned. Now coming to the financing issues, I think what is of foremost importance from the banking side when they deal with MSME is that the conduct. So what happens today, the MSME units who are dealing with the banks here, the main problem is that the limits which they enjoy from the banking system, they are always utilized in full. At times, the limits are not utilized. The utilization is to the extent of 25-30%. And we keep on wondering why we have given them the limits. And at times, what happens is that there is 100% utilization, and the units rush to us at the last minute saying that please give us an ad hoc, please give us a temporary overdraft. At that time, the decision making of the bank is very important because you are dealing with two things, two very dynamic things, very volatile things. One is the currency fluctuation, other is the price fluctuation. And you want an immediate response from the bank, like what should be done. And the bank will say that, look boss, your conduct is not that great. At that time, you will really feel that I have lost an opportunity of earning. So that is what is happening in real market. At times, you may remain underutilized. At times, you hit the brink. You hit the brim of the utilization. So I'll say that what determines a good conduct, of course, everybody knows what is a good conduct of the account, but there are banks that record the conduct electronically and give you a score. And with that score coming in, this conduct is very scientifically taken into account with that score, and the decisions are taken based on that score. So there are two types of banks. The banks who are traditionally, say, a public sector enterprise kind of a situation, wherein they take a lot of time to decide. Even with a bad conduct account, they are not able to decide quickly. Even with a good conduct account, they are not able to decide quickly because there is a sort of decision-making paralysis on account of several things that happened in the economy in the past, before some time. And that is the reason why some of the advanced banks or some of the leading banks in the private sector, they have defined this kind of concepts. They have shifted to algorithms. So people don't decide, scores decide. And when it comes to scores, I will tell you what constitutes a good score, how a good score, comes into action as vis-a-vis the bad scores. So one is the units are very complacent when it comes to the interest servicing. So what happens is, at times, nobody asks from the bank. The interest gets serviced after 7, 10 days, 15 days of delay. Now somebody, don't think that somebody is not noticing it. It is being recorded at the back end of the bank, and this is also contributing to the score. So that is one thing which you should be taking care of. Secondly, routing all your transactions through the account. When the MSME units don't route their transactions through the account, the credit summation vis-a-vis the turnover they show, they don't tally, and that constitutes a bad conduct. So we feel at the banks, from a banker's perspective, we feel that is there some siphoning happening out of the account, whether the funds are getting diverted or whether there are cash dealings, right? So we are here to eliminate those cash dealings because that doesn't constitute a good conduct. So that is another thing which is to be taken care of. The third thing is plan your utilizations well in advance. Most of the times, if the account is utilized to the extent of 100%, when the interest gets applied, there is an overdrawing. And when there are more and more instances of overdrawing, then your score will fall. The conduct score will fall, and that will constitute to a slow decision making when it comes to loans. Inward check returns, of course. So these also constitute the conduct of the account. So you may feel that while checks are getting returned, I am not jeopardizing the bank's interest, I am paying interest on time, but that is not the case over here. Banks are also monitoring the conduct vis-a-vis your accounts. If you are returning those checks, that is also being recorded by an algorithm at the back end. Non-updation of, so the covenants breach, when you are not updating the stock statements in time, when you are not taking the insurance on time, then there are compliance issues, right? And when there are compliance issues or governance issues, definitely it constitutes a bad behavior. So why I'm telling you all this, that when it comes to getting the finance, and when you want immediately the decision making very at an early stage, you will definitely be supported by banks if you are a good borrower. And that will reduce the need of collateral security. Today, the MSMEs are in a challenging position where banks are demanding, say, collateral equal to the exposure. Now, that is a main fight today. If you want an exposure which is equal to your collateral, you will have to create that kind of a collateral from business. And that is the main challenge today, right? So with this kind of a good behavior, if you are able to have a good behavior and get a good score, the extent of collateral required would reduce over a period of time. So from a 100% collateral coverage, it may reduce to 40%, 50%. That kind of a coverage can happen over a period of time. So other caution is that don't shift your banks very frequently. You need to develop good behavior. You need to develop your track record with a single bank over a period of time. Now these may be against my interest, but I am telling you. But provided your bank is in a position to record it, provided the bank is in an advanced stage, if the bank is itself backward, if the bank is not technologically upgraded, they'll not be able to do it, right? So you have to provide some time to the bank to judge you. And after that, of course, the need for the collateral security goes to a certain extent. And especially in this segment, we are seeing one or two things. The intra-group entries from one concern to the other concern within the group. Lot of cash flows without any explanation. So that is another conduct which we definitely monitor. We also monitor the debtor saging. LC devolvements also are being monitored. So these are so many parameters which I have told you, which constitute the score, good score or a bad score. So we call it an early warning system, wherein we rate the borrower on a score, and once the score is good, the need for the collateral goes. That is the sum and substance of my submission to you today. And once the need for that collateral keeps on reducing, definitely yes, you can leverage your collateral more. Definitely yes, the bank is willing to support you in whatever endeavor you want to. If you want to register on this online platform, definitely bank will be there behind you. It will give a lot of credibility to you. And definitely, we will also facilitate the transactional convenience, because as a private bank, as a agile private bank, we are very much disposed to all kind of different technologies. We are oriented to this kind of things day in and day out. We make a lot of integrations with this kind of portals. There are electronic facilitations available on the trade, on the credit, on the transaction side of business. So definitely, yes, we will be glad to fund you on the portal as well, and also help you in leveraging your collateral to the best possible extent. I think this was enough, and if you have any questions on this side, like how can the bank be useful, please let me know. I am there. I will be there as a part of the networking outside as well. So thank you so much.